Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Buzzing About Romance Happy Hour. Tonight we are celebrating author Stacey Lynn. Oh, crap, sorry. Excuse me. Oh,
Well, hi,
sorry.
everybody. Leah's gonna apparently
Off to
cough.
a great
I'm having
start.
some problems.
You are.
We're in her latest release, The Love and Lies Duet, Book One. All the Ugly Things is out now, and All the Beautiful Things releases on May 11th. Becky,
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Becky, do you want to read her bio?
I do. So Stacey Lynn likes her coffee with a dash of sugar, her heroes with a side of bossy, and her wine a deep shade of red. The author of over 30 romance novels, many of which have been best-selling titles on Amazon, Apple Books, and Barnes & Noble. Born in Texas and raised in the Midwest, she now makes her home in North Carolina, loves all things Southern. Together with her ultimate tall, dark, and handsome hero, she has 4 children. Her life is a chaotic mess that fights with her type A list-making, neurotically organized preferences. She wouldn't have it any other way. Welcome to Happy Hour,
Hey,
Stacey.
ladies, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
We're excited to have you. I will say she does write hockey romances. We have kind of been dubbed a little bit of the hockey romance podcast
Yes.
because it's kind of our gig. So some of our fans that are watching might recognize Stacey's name from her hockey romances. But I've read a couple of your other books. So
Awesome.
The Weekend Wife, I think, is one. And then you have one,
Weekend Fling, Fake
The
Wife.
Weekend Fling, Fake Wife.
Fake Wife,
Oops.
yep.
As I hit
Yep.
my table. Those are both really good. I really enjoyed those. So I'm excited to get
you.
the opportunity to chit chat with you.
So, our
So-
rules of the night, since I
Okay.
am actually functional at the moment, I don't know what happened there. You can ask all the questions you want in the chat. We will do our best to answer any questions you have. In the description of the video are links to all the places you can connect with Stacey Lynn and us. If you follow, like, and subscribe at the end of the night, one lucky person will win a swag-filled box from us. And Becky,
Yes,
what
I
kind
have
of
stuff.
swag do we have
Hold
tonight?
on. I forgot to grab
Here.
it. Hold on. See, this is so much better with the new. I
You
have
can just
a
wheel yourself.
cold Starbucks cup that says here for the HEA and buzzing about romance on it. And then, so last week's winner was from Canada, and she didn't. It's stupid expensive to ship to Canada. So I gifted her a swearing mug, which is kind of our gig on the side
Oh,
here.
I love a good sweary mug.
Right. So I gifted her a swearing mug. And so I still have the bee pouch filled with swag up for grabs tonight. So that's what we've got. Oh, and it smells good. There must be something smelly in there. I recently did an office rearrange. My husband built us new desks and rearranged our office. And so I found all this book swag. Like so much stuff. So I'm trying to gift it out to all of my book loving friends.
Awesome.
So we're going to kick things off in our traditional way. So,
Yes.
Stacey Lynn, what are you drinking tonight?
I am drinking Pinot Grigio tonight.
Yum.
Okay. Becky, what did Mike make you tonight?
I think it's a vodka gimlet. He was giving me a hard time earlier
Wow.
about not being original. And so I was like, he's like, you want a drink? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, what do you want? I was like, surprise me. And he brings me a vodka gimlet. So
I love gimlets. Those are great.
aren't they? They're so yummy.
Yeah.
And it's made with Tito's vodka, which today, random thing to share, but today I read an article about the top 5 mass market brands of vodka in the US. Tito's is number 1. So
I bet it
look
is.
at me high classing it. It's very unusual for me.
You are on trend.
Right? That's very rarely doesn't happen. What are you drinking, Leah?
I'm actually drinking a vodka soda tonight. So,
Nice.
one a little different for me.
I was going to say, usually you've been drinking your gin and tonics. So
I have been having gin and
I've-
tonic a lot.
I've been drinking those a lot lately.
It's funny because I had never had one until this summer. We were at a barbecue and someone was like, do you want a drink? I'm like, sure. And they're like, have you ever had this? I'm like, no. I'm like, I will drink that though.
I don't
You
love
may-
gin.
I
just don't love
do.
gin.
I like gin. I I always thought gin and tonic was like an old person drink.
Mhm.
Like my grandparents always drank gin and tonics.
Yeah.
Mostly gin, light on the tonic. And I was at, I don't know, this was like 5-7 years ago. I was out for my brother's kind of bachelor pre-wedding party that was all together with all the couples. And I asked somebody what a gin and tonic tasted like. And they were like, it tastes like pine needles. And I was like, okay, let's try that. And I got it and I tasted it. I was like, oh my gosh, it tastes like pine needles. But I really love it.
It tastes like licking a Christmas tree. I just, when I drink.
Which doesn't sound good, but it
does.
Like refreshing.
It's not good.
You're going to think about that next time you have a gin and tonic, like sniffing it, like, is this pine?
I'm just going to be licking the Christmas tree.
Yeah.
Licking the tree.
Please, Leah, send pictures when you lick the Christmas tree.
Well, but mine is fake. Does it count?
Sure. Why not? You know what?
Some pine little spray on it.
Those pine tree air fresheners in your car. Just give it a good lick.
There you go.
It's like a gin and tonic on the go. Without a DUI.
Right.
Okay. Hi, Tanya. Hi, Lynn. Hi, Rachel. And hi, Susie.
Hello, my friends.
Okay.
So in the chat, I am putting the link to follow Stacey on Amazon. We're just kicking off with the big one tonight. It is super helpful for you as the reader to follow your favorite authors on Amazon. All these people that are in this chat have heard me give this spiel like 50 times, but I'm going to do it again for you in case you forgot. It's very helpful to not only you, the reader, because you get notified of pre-orders and when books are released, but it also helps the author with their search in the big Zon's algorithm. So if you love an author, follow them on Amazon when you buy their books. Anyway, yay!
Okay, so let's get to know Stacey. I'm just gonna say you're like Stacey Lynn. I'm just calling you that all time.
Just call her Stacey.
I know Stacey Lynn. It's fine. It's fine. Whatever.
So, are you a reader of romance?
Yes, I read a book a day.
Yes,
that's my kind of person right there.
I am a fast reader. I am a massive rereader. Because I cannot go a day without reading something. And so if I'm not buying new books, I'm rereading everything. So yeah, I was a reader. I've always been a reader. My dad, when I was a young kid, used to work for a publishing company. Actually, it was at the time named Price Stern Sloan, but they're the makers of Mad Libs. So we always had like in our basement, we always had like storage boxes filled with like Mad Libs and posters and all of this awesome stuff. And he used to have to go to trade shows and he would bring me back every time he went. He would meet Anna Martin, author of the Babysitters Club, and he would bring me back a signed book. So I had at one point the entire series, but I had like 20 to 30 autographed books. And every book he got from me from her was one of like Stacey does something. So it was cool. So, but I've been a reader since I was a little kid. We'd go camping and we would get a brown paper sack for our weekend to pack. That was all we could take. And half of my bag would be books. It's like, and it would like weigh down my clothes so I could like get more books.
You could stack more in.
Right.
Yeah. You are people. I love the Babysitter Club books. Oh my gosh. Yes. I
can't wait till my youngest is old enough to read them.
I know. I've tried. My daughter's 12 and I've tried to get her into them. And I cannot get her in.
So have you tried the graphic novels that Anne Martin just redid?
Yeah, and she doesn't like them and she loves graphic novels. She won't even try them. And I'm like, but they're graphic novels. You love graphic novels. Like, just do this for me, please.
Yeah, my girl child wasn't interested in the old books because our library still has the old books and our e-library has all the old books. And so I was like, oh, try to read this and try to read that. And she's like, no. So I got her the graphic novels and she loved them. But there were a couple other books at the same time that came out that were graphic novel-esque. And so she, devoured them and loved them. And Anne Martin updated them and made them a little more modern in the graphic novel, which I think is helpful to get some of the younger kids to come in and read them.
Maybe I'll have to try that again for her and just force her.
Just like
Pull
sit
her
on
down.
like
You cannot move from this seat
Read.
until this book is
Do
completed.
not get your phone back until you finish this book.
my child wasn't always a reader, and it broke my heart because I am a reader. Like
Right.
my favorite day of the year was like book fair at school, or when the Scholastic newspaper came home and you had to pick the books to order. And so my children before homeschool were not huge readers. They just didn't love it. And I'm just like, but please read. It's like everything for me. Please read. And they're like, no. Now that we homeschool and school's a little different. My girl child at least will read. My boy child, he's still.
Yeah, I have
still
4
resistant.
kids. And so they're 10, 12, 14, and 16. And my 16-year-old and my 10-year-old, they're both boys. They are crazy readers. Like even today, my 16-year-old, he'll read Stephen King books, like, you know, beginning to end and devour them. And same with my 10-year-old. He just started the Harry Potter series, but he's read like every single Rick Riordan book of all the Percy Jackson, like all of those. Read most of them during COVID this last year. He came home and he's like, I need this book. And I'm like, okay, I need this book. And I'm like, can't you go to the library? And it's like, oh, we can't go to the library. So I was like getting Amazon deliveries every week of the next book for him. But my middle two, I can't even, nothing.
So your middle two are girls?
I have my 12-year-old's a girl. I have 3 boys and a girl.
Okay.
Yep.
That's a lot of boy.
Yeah.
That's a lot of boy in one house.
It's a lot of boy. It's a lot of fun, loud boy. Sweet boy.
Boys are so loud. Like I have one at home and it's loud. I'm like, I can't imagine.
Really, that's really interesting because my girl child is the loud one. My boy child is like the quiet that doesn't really want to talk to us or look at us or spend time.
My middle two, the boy and the girl, they're loud. They're loud. He's all boy, all athletics, all sports. And then my other 2 boys are just like, just let me read and play a video game. And they've always been just very quiet boys. And because when I had boys, I was like, oh, it's going to be so loud. He's going to be jumping off furniture and blah, 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 blah. And he was very not that.
Not that.
Very quiet.
You got the nice calm before the
frenzy. He's like very timid and very just cautious, and he's never been like this rambunctious, loud kid. So
that's nice.
Anyway.
That is nice. So, go ahead, Leah.
So tell us what your last 5-star read was.
Oh my gosh. I have to look at my Kindle. Hold on, let me pull it up.
That's okay.
Let me see. Mostly just because I've been doing a lot of rereading in the last couple of weeks. I did read Den of Vipers. That was pretty something.
Who is Den of Vipers?
Who's that
one? That is a reverse harem that's been getting like all sorts of attention, I guess.
It's been getting all the love on TikTok.
Yeah. Super good.
I have seen that. The cover's beautiful, and it's red and black and gold.
Yeah.
And it's mostly on the Spicy Book Talk.
Yeah, it is on Spicy Book Talk. Well, because it's reverse harem, and so there's a lot of that.
There's a lot
of that.
So Heather, if you're listening, and that's K.A. Knight that wrote Den of Vipers. And that's in Kindle Unlimited.
It is in Kindle Unlimited. Yeah.
Heather, if you're watching, you need to read Den of Vipers in Kindle Unlimited and tell us what you think.
And then report back.
And then the Blood and Ash series by Jennifer Armentrout.
Yes.
All that stuff. Like I jump all over the place because I'll do the reverse harem and then I'll go straight to fantasy, the Blood and Ash, and all those 3 books. And then the other really great one I read was, I don't know the name of the series, but it's by Natasha Knight and A. Zavarelli.
Oh, is it one of their mafia books?
Yeah, Reparation of Sin and Requiem of the Soul. Those were really great. Those were really good. I love Natasha Knight's books. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah. Yes, those are really dark, but they're good. Yeah.
They're usually all that like forced marriage. I'm going to kill you and hate you. All that like fun stuff. I don't know.
No, that's okay. I kind of like that kind of stuff.
I do too.
I love you, but I hate
sometimes.
you.
Right.
So, Stacey, I'm going to put in the chat Stacey's
Okay.
Facebook group. If you haven't joined, I highly recommend it. They're a lovely group of people in there. They often chat books and do fun stuff. So, if you haven't joined her Facebook group, there is the link so you can join that.
Yeah.
Stacey, do you have a favorite trope to read or to write?
All of them.
All of them.
Everything. I would say my favorites, my likely go-tos are for both reading and writing are Second Chance. And possibly that might have something to do with the fact that my husband and I dated in college and then broke up for years and then got back together and then we're married in like 8 months. So we're like the typical second chance romance. And I really, really love a single dad because who doesn't love a single dad, especially when he's a single dad to babies?
Yes.
Like,
I love a single dad. And actually, you have one of my most favorite surprise pregnancy books.
was it the
Because
hockey one?
it was a hockey book. Surprise
Yes.
pregnancy is my
Yes.
favorite trope.
Yeah.
And I mean, but it has to be done well. And so when people are always like, well, what's your favorite surprise pregnancy? I'm always like, oh, well, check out Stacey Lynn's. And now the title is like totally
Scoring.
off.
Is it, if it's the hockey one, it's scoring off the ice.
Yeah, scoring off
Yep.
the ice because the guy is such a great character. Because he is Danish
Yep.
and doesn't speak English very well, and he's very young.
He's very
And
excellent. He was very much a virgin before this accidental pregnancy showed up at a very, he was a 21, 22-year-old pro NHL player who that's all he was allowed to do growing up. And so he was very sheltered, and his friends shove him out for his birthday and basically taunt him to just go do it. And then he ends up with a surprise on his doorstep.
Well, and his neighbor is sassy and just
that was
like
so much fun to write. Like, you're making me like smile like happy thoughts because it was just such a fun book to write.
It is one of my favorites. It's one I tell people.
It is a really good one.
Thank you so much.
I'm always like, oh, secret baby. Oh, read Scoring Off the Ice by Stacey Lynn. It's the best.
What was fun about that was Micah, the Danish, the Dutch player. I had cousins who had a Danish foreign exchange student, and they lived in Michigan. We lived in Minnesota, but they came to my parents' lake house 2 summers in a row, and they've since kept in touch. And so I kind of just became friends with her on Facebook. So she helped me with all there's very little Danish translation in it, but she helped me with all of that. And then when we were doing the audiobook for it, the male narrator for the audiobook is actually from Denmark. He's a Danish speaker.
That's nice.
So yeah, it was really cool, and just totally luck that landed in our lap. But he does a really good job.
I haven't listened to the audiobook. Now I might have to.
Yeah, now you have to.
Rachel says she loves that book also, and that whole series is hot.
That whole series is good, but and now that you say Second Chance is your favorite, that series is filled with a lot of second chance romances.
It is. You're absolutely right. Not typical second chance, but there are a few in there that, I weave it in as much as possible. I think it's just habit at this point. Oh, they loved each other before, they'll love each other again. Like, let's just do that.
It's so interesting that you say that, because like your own relationship was a bit of a second chance. And go-to for me is instant connection. And my husband and I were an instant connection.
Right.
And we got married. We're Catholic, and so we got married the minimum like 6 months from engagement
as short as soon as you can make it.
Right, as short as we could make it, and got married, and we'll celebrate 22 years later this month. So, but we're an instant connection, and I do love instant connection romance. So, so maybe it is what you know.
I don't know.
What about you, Leah? You like the reverse age gap?
He's only a year younger.
He likes to remind you of that though often.
Well, pretty soon though,
Hilarious.
there will be a 2-year gap for a whole like week and a half. It's 2 years.
That's scandalous.
And he makes a big deal about it. But actually, we are friends to lovers. So,
Okay.
which Becky hates, but
Which I've written one of those too in the hockey series. So
I don't hate them. They're just,
no,
you
I
know
know.
what? I'd rather read Friends to Lovers than Enemies to Lovers. Enemies to Lovers has to be done really well for me to buy into it. Because I just don't get excited when there are some people that write it basically, I hate you, I hate you. Let's screw out our hate.
And
Oh,
now we
wait,
love
all of a
each
sudden
other.
I love you. It,
right. That's big dick energy right there.
right?
It is.
But it's,
We weren't
it's
like
annoying
lifelong
big dick.
friends though. So we weren't that like obnoxious. Like, how is it not possible? Like we were only
Right.
friends for like a year or so before.
Okay.
So
We'll let it pass this
wasn't,
time, Leah.
yeah.
Oh.
So is there a trope that you will least likely write? Or is there nothing that you won't try?
I will probably never write as much as I love reading them. I will probably never write reverse harem or male, but there's
Mhm.
some of my favorite fun escape books. Like I really, really enjoy reading them, but I just don't see myself diving down those paths
Mhm.
ever. I'll leave
We've
you to
had
the
a
pros.
couple other people on say like they love a reverse harem, but they don't think they could write it just because there's a lot of moving parts that they do. It's a lot of coordinating.
There is
It's a lot of penises. It's a lot.
There's no penis hiatus there.
We're not on penis hiatus anymore. We can now say it.
Oh, you transferred me your cough.
Sorry.
There is, and there's a lot of like names. Like I would be the one to like she's instantly in the middle of doing something with like Joe, and then suddenly it's John and or Jacob. Like because I would just like suddenly the guy just switches mid thrust and it's
Right.
totally different.
That's probably a whole different kind of romance.
Right. And I'm thinking that's like maybe not.
I mean, that's like paranormal right there. Dipping into a different world.
Right. She just went to a different dimension immediately.
Right. Okay, so Tanya says her hubby and her are friends to lovers, and she's not a big fan of friends to lovers. So that's so funny. Yes, Tanya, there's a lot of
choreography.
There's a lot of memories involved in that. Maybe that she just can't. I mean, it's Tanya because I know who that is and I love her.
Rachel says, I think there's a lot of people who aren't big fans of friends to lovers. It's one of my favorite, and I feel like I'm in the minority. You probably are, Rachel. It's okay. We'll still be your friend.
It's okay. It's all right. Right. We'll still love you as friends.
Right? Lindsay's like, I love friends to lovers.
There is something. I mean, I did write it. I think I've written a couple. I've written, a few of them, but I will say that they are the books that take the hardest for me to connect to. And maybe it's just because in my life, my brother was only a year older. I was friends with a bunch of guys. I knew his friends. And there was never a time, like once a person's friend zone to me, there's never a time where they become attractive. I just feel like it's like you're there or you're not. Like there's a hope or you're not. And if there's a hope, I don't think I could ever stay friends with them. I would just like repeatedly get my heart broken. And it just doesn't seem like a fun way to live your life.
No, it doesn't.
My thing with friends to lovers is always like, especially when it's longtime friends to lovers, like we've been best friends for 15 years. There was never a moment in that 15 years. Now, and I'm not talking about missed opportunities.
Right.
I'm talking about they're just friends. They hang out in the same friend group, and all of a sudden, there's that one moment that brings you together. There was never any hints previous to that. There was never, because sometimes, so when it's long-term friends to lovers, sometimes to me it comes off as almost incestual, because it's like you had this long friendship and you never had a moment of flirting. You never had a moment of
I've never gone that far into incest. I've ever dove down that path when I'm thinking about it. But I get
It's
what you're
just me.
It's the way
I know.
Becky's mind works.
I know.
It's just me.
And
I'm
that
naughty.
is a beautiful place to be, most likely.
Right. No, it's not. It's scary. Nobody wants in here. Okay, so I am putting the Buzzing About Romance TikTok link. I know Stacey is also on TikTok.
I am. I just started.
I pay my girl child to make me TikToks with coffee drinks.
I have been begging them. I'm like, I will even tell you what to write and what to type and what to do for me. And I will even find the sounds. Can you just $10 an hour? I will pay you to just make these for me. And they're all like, no.
Oh, mine is highly motivated by fancy coffee drinks being delivered to our door. So like,
maybe I just
the
need
right motivation.
I'll be like,
maybe like an Ulta trip for my daughter, or
see, I'm like, girl child, would you like to have a frosted coffee from Chick-fil-A this morning? Yes, I would. Okay. The Dunkin' Donuts, would you like to stop at Dunkin' Donuts and get a big, large frozen mocha before you go off to work? Yes, I would.
A TikTok made in advance.
I need TikToks. Here is my list. Get busy.
Okay, so you're apparently doing this mom thing way better than I am.
Well,
no, she's doing the bribery thing.
I just know what motivates. I just know what motivates this child. The boy child, I couldn't get to do it.
Yeah,
he'd be like, no.
I don't care. Yeah.
There's nothing I want from you.
And I think he's a little embarrassed because he knows what kind of books I write, and so I think he's afraid that I would like make him write something embarrassing. And I was like, I'm like, it's not like I'm going to ask you to type out the scene. Like, I just need like romance word.
Like, you're not attached to it. I just need you to do it.
Like, I just need you to I need you to do this for me.
I did a series of TikToks for spicy books. Like, we did a rating on our blog about talking about what is our steam levels for the blog. And so then I had coordinating books to, like, if it's a steam level 1, these books might be your choice. It's a steam level 2, these books are your choice. And my child is like, so we get to steam level 4 and 5, and she's like, what songs should I use? And she doesn't always put everything together. And I'm like, well, these are the sexier books. And she's like, okay.
Okay.
And so I'm like, Pony. And she's like, are you kidding me? I'm like, no.
A little bit of WAP. Just throw it in there.
She's super mad at me. She's like, really? I'm like,
I mean, Pony's it's a classic.
Right.
She's like, you keep making me do stuff I'm not sure I'm comfortable with. I'm like, I don't care. Keep moving. You got a coffee drink.
Your drink? Do you want your drink?
Right.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. So Stacey, how long have you been writing? Like you've been published for a while, but like, have you been written forever, or is it?
No. So I actually, and I totally missed this in my reader group and everything this year, but I was my 8th year publishing anniversary was April 16th. Of this year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I know. And what's crazy about that is my very first book was called Just One Song. And it's a beautiful, heart-wrenching story. It's amazing. I mean, probably poorly written compared to what I'd be writing now, but the story is fantastic. I started writing that right before Labor Day the year before in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
We had just moved to a new home in Minnesota. I had 1 kid at school. I had 3 kids home. We knew nobody. We were in a new town. We knew nobody. And I was reading all the time. And at the time, we were so broke because I wasn't working. I was a stay-at-home mom before this. And my husband was working, and we had no money. We had 4 little kids, and because we were young and thought that'd be a great idea to have in 5 years. And I was like, you know what? I was reading all these like 99-cent free books at the time in 2012 at like the peak of, ebooks and indie publishing. And I was reading some, and I was like, I could do better than this. And I mean, like, that sounds really cocky, and I really don't mean it that way. It was just the free books at the time were just, really bad books. Mine was probably not that much better, to be honest. But anyway, so I sat down and I started writing this book. I waited until I had an idea, and I was like, I'm going to write a book I've always wanted to write a book. It was like my bucket list. I'm going to write a book. And so I wrote it. I finished it before Thanksgiving that year, and I hated it. And I just threw it in a drawer, and I was like, we'll just say I did it. And a couple weeks later, my type A neurotic personality kicked in, and I was like, I can't shelve it until I'm at least happy with it. And then I can at least be proud to say I wrote a book one time. So anyway, I got it out. I fixed like the middle 2/3 of it. It was like the beginning was great, and the end it was like everything in the middle totally changed. So then I published it in April 16th, 2013. And the release coming up in May will be my 40th release.
That's so
awesome.
And it was, the first book was, honestly, I remember talking to my husband, and he was like, what would you, like, how many books would you have to sell to feel like you were successful? And like, feel like you did a great job, whatever, and would be proud of this book. And I was like, because we were broke. And I was like, if I make my money back by the end of the year, so at least I didn't lose anything, invest, like throw it away, money that, could have been for our kids. I was like, if I make my money back by the end of the year, and that like totally happened a lot faster. I think it was like 2 days or something like that. And then people were like messaging me going, when's the next book? When's this person's book? And I was like, wait, what? Like I had literally not planned at all on ever writing another book. And I was like, I talked to my husband, and I was like, I think I'm going to do this. And he was like, okay, have fun. Have fun. Have fun.
Isn't that awesome, though?
I like 3 kids at home, 1 in school, like I was writing, like all day in the living room with them, running around and at night. And it's totally snowballed into like this crazy thing that's been absolutely amazing. So
That's so awesome, though. And it is amazing when a husband is like, okay, have fun. You do it. Leah and I are both
I don't know if it's always been that easy.
No,
it's nice to have that, though.
But other than that,
we both have had our moments. I've only been doing this for the podcast almost a year. Leah joined me in February, and for the most part, our husbands, holy heck, supportive and like pushing. My husband is sitting here in production doing stuff as we're chatting. He's manipulating all this stuff. And it's amazing. It's amazing. There are hard moments where, husbands are like,
mine was really great in the beginning, because he hates to read. Like he's never read a book that has not been assigned reading in, high school or college or whatever. And he did read my first book, especially. I would send him every few chapters, and he would help me with it. And he was an amazing brainstorming partner. And I sent him the next one, and he was reading it. And I think he read most of the first 2. And then he helped me totally plot my 4th book, which was Remembering Us, which got me my first publishing deal through Montlake. We were on the way to my parents' lake one day, and I was like, I feel like I want to write a book about a girl who wakes up with amnesia. And he was like, oh, and there's zombies. And I was like, no, there's no, there's no zombies. Oh, somebody takes over her soul. No, honey, nobody takes over her soul. But through that weird conversation of everything I didn't want, he helped me. Like he really did help me pen. Like, and I was like, oh my God, I was like writing notes, and so he was so supportive, and I loved that he took the time to do something he hated, which was reading. He used to have an hour-long commute on a train when we were in Minnesota, and so he would read on the train. And he got to a certain part in one of my books, and he texted me, and he said, I'm feeling slightly uncomfortable and have to keep crossing my legs, and I don't know if I can continue reading your books on the train if this is the direction they're going.
Oh, that's so funny.
It's so funny. And I was like, you know what? You've read one. You can quit, because I know that this is not your gig. But thank you.
That's really funny
for doing that.
What a good sport. I mean,
he really was. He was really great. He's always been really supportive.
That's nice to have that, though. Like it's because it's nice to have that person like supporting you and bringing you up and like pushing you to like to do better.
Right.
Like they know you can do more.
Believed things would be way better. He's always believed in me way more than I have, because I'm like, this is gonna, bomb and blah, blah, blah. And, like we went from having, when our kids were really young, they were on WIC, which was like, we had checks for vegetables and milk and that kind of stuff. And now we do not. And it's because of my incredible readers that we don't. And so I'm so incredibly and overwhelmingly thankful, but he's always been the guy in the background going, your next book, this is the one that's gonna, be the movie deal, be the blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm not even shooting for that goal, honey. But like, I really appreciate that you think that that's where we're headed. Like, okay.
But that's pretty amazing that he is that big of a cheerleader. And, we don't often hear, I mean, I'm sure that lots of the authors, their husbands are good supporters and they're kind of in the background, but, Mr. Stacey Lynn there sounds pretty incredible and a pretty fantastic cheerleader. So he deserves some props.
Put him in a little
for
skirt,
sure.
give him some pom-poms and just have him dance up some asses for me.
Maybe he should be doing your TikToks.
That's just
there you go.
Don't let anybody know.
He can do the TikToks.
He would not do that. He would draw the line. He'll watch them. That's it. Starring in him is like not gonna ever happen.
Just do it from the neck down.
Oh my goodness, poor guy. So Stacey, are you, when it comes to your writing, are you a pantser or a planner? Because you're type A, so I think we know this answer.
No. I'm a total pantser. Which
really?
Is like,
that's surprising.
I know, right? Only because I have never actually figured out how to plot and then not become, I know, like that makes no sense. But there's been books, there's a certain one that I still really want to write someday. It came to me and I was driving to pick up my kid from preschool, and it came to me just like a movie, much like All the Ugly Things. It just rushed into my mind and I was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. This is incredible. And it was like twisty and turny, and there was serial killers and murders and heartache and second chance romance. And it was like all the things that I love, like rolled in. And I saw beginning to end, and I went home to start writing it. And I started like writing down all the things that like I knew about it. And by the time I got to like the ending, I was like, oh, that's how it ends. And I was like totally lost interest because I knew how it ended. And I was like, how, as a writer, like you should know the ending.
You're like, you ruined it for yourself.
I did. I totally ruined it for myself. And so every time I sit down and try to plot, I feel like if I know too much, I lose interest.
Huh, that's fair. I mean,
so it's weird.
But the creative process brings something for you, though. I'm sure there's an energy that comes when you're writing and being creative.
Yeah. And like in this, I mean, like in the duet I just wrote, it was one of my first like cliffhanger books. And I knew exactly how the ending was going to happen. And I knew exactly how book 2 was going to start. So, but it was like, I didn't see everything. And to me, like, I find my excitement in being able to hit those moments where it's like, oh my God, I can't believe they just did that. Like where I'm experiencing it almost along with the reader as I'm writing it. And so if I dive too deep into planning it, I lose interest. I lose my passion and excitement for it. Mm-hmm. So I know main parts, and I never, every day I finish writing, I always write down notes of what's going to come next. So it's like I'm both, but just not severely plotting.
Okay, well, so before we get into Love and Lies, I'm putting the link for Stacey's Instagram up. If you aren't following her on Instagram, go ahead and give her a follow. Let's talk about this little cliffhanger book, the Love and Lies Duet.
What's it called, Becky?
Isn't it Love and Lies?
No, it is, but I want to see what you call the first book.
What's the first book?
I'm going to call it wrong. Okay, listen. So I have to preface this. Everybody watching right now.
That's you nailed it.
Everybody watching this knows I'm the worst, and I just make shit up. Like I have read books and gotten character names wrong. So I work as a copy editor, and I actually was editing a book. I was editing a book, and I didn't know anything about it. It just was a job. It came to me, and I'm reading the book, and I thought the characters' names were like John and Jenny. And I'm copy editing the book, and I'm going through all of it, and then I get to the scene, the sex scene. And it is not John and Jenny. It is John and Jeremy. And the sex scene did not make sense for John and Jenny. It made sense for John and Jeremy.
Oh my God.
It was not. So I make
That's
names
kind of a
up.
big oversight. I mean,
Everything was reading
maybe,
fine.
Maybe there's not. I mean,
Well, everything was reading fine, like editing wise, like line edits were great grammatically.
You were just reading Jeremy as Jenny in your mind. And
Yeah. I mean, I read a whole book. And the character's name was Rhys, and I read Rise. Yes, Rise. It's actually Reese.
And I was like, oh,
it's Reese. I didn't know that either.
It is, yeah.
So have I.
Man, never
so
mind.
I keep.
Drink.
You should just keep drinking, because I have butchered the poor name of your first book. I'm like, all things ugly.
Yes.
She gets
All
all the
things
words
beautiful.
right. It's just never in the right order.
It's just not.
My dad,
So
my
I
dad
make
does
her
that.
re-say them all the time because it makes me laugh.
All the ugly things.
It's just I'm mean
all the
about
ugly
it.
things.
All
Which,
the ugly things.
okay, so I adored, and part of the reason that I adored this story was it's a story of redemption in a way, but it's the female that is seeking the redemption.
Which does not happen a lot.
Yeah.
It's often,
it's different.
Usually we have the male who has come, that has been let out of prison into parole, and he's the one moving on with his.
And he always has a really great reason for being there.
Right.
Like he's beat up the guy who raped his sister, or there's always a really powerful reason of, ironically, just a couple weeks ago, I read Lady Luck, reread Lady Luck from Kristen Ashley, who the guy's out of prison for, similarly, I guess, a crime he didn't commit. But yeah, so yeah, this is different than a lot of what's out there. And I know that I'm asking, especially my readers, I've jumped around quite a bit. I've written small town romance. I've written football romance. I've written hockey romance. I've written rock star. I've written MMA. But at the core of all of those, within those, like seemingly fun living series, the books that always have my biggest passion is the ones that make me want to cry. Is the ones that make me want to cry when I'm reading them. It's the ones that I inject the most emotion into. And so this is different, and it's asking people to take a chance, and yet the emotion of what I've always written is so much there. Just maybe magnified by 1,000, frankly.
You do write emotional romances. My first book ever reading for you was The Fake Wife.
Yeah.
And
that was supposed to be like fun loving and short and sweet and fun. And I was like, I can't do that. I literally cannot.
No, because it deals with a little bit of grief and, family expectations.
Yep.
And there's a lot to unpack in that story. While it is cute and funny, the meet cute in that book is phenomenal. I highly recommend it for a good meet cute.
Yep. The ending, the epilogue and the ending is like one of my favorites, where I mean, we can't spoil it obviously, but yeah.
Right. Don't spoil it.
I won't.
But but I see what you're saying, because you do the books that of yours that I've read, that I've connected with, while they might have a little bit of a fun, flirty, little bit of a side, they do have these underlying emotions. So even like The Secret Baby that I love so much, he's dealing with...
There's a lot of emotion there.
There was a lot in that. There was a lot
because the father...
Yep. Yeah. I mean, and I just like, I think that's my go-to when I'm writing, is I need to feel something. And when I've tried to write books that are just more lighthearted, that don't go as deep, because I know not all readers like to dive deep, and like they read for escape and they read for fun, and and that's I do too. Like I absolutely do. I love my rom-coms by R.S. Gray, and I love, and then on this complete opposite, I love something that's going to make me grab a box of tissues and, whatever, be a mess. But the books that I've always been most excited about writing are always the one that make me tear up as I'm thinking of them and writing of them. And this book is just, it's my favorite. I think this book will always be my favorite.
So
Duet.
Rachel, who is also a book blogger, she's Read with Rach. She said
Yes,
she
yes,
adores
yes,
this duet. She
Yep.
loves this. And Susie, she's a member of our Patreon. She's one of our listeners that we adore. Susie, she lives in Iowa. So this story takes place in Iowa.
And I lived there for 20 years. So this for me was a coming back home to Iowa. She will know exactly
all the
what I'm
places
talking
and everything.
About. I know. Yeah. Yes.
So Susie, this is definitely one you should totally check out because it's kind of in your own backyard. There is something magical with this story. It really does have a different feel. So one of the things that we're curious about is what made you decide to turn it into a duet? And just a duet because you've never really written a duet. Do you have another duet?
I do have one. Which is much more an erotic. It's drastically
Don't read
different.
it on the train.
But I do have another. I do what?
Don't read it on the train.
It's not one for husband consumption in public. But I do, and this one, honestly, so book one it ended at like 90,000 words, and I struggled with, I'm a huge reader. I love trilogies. I love duets. I'm a huge frustrated reader when I finish the duet and I feel like that totally could have been one book. Like I didn't want to write a duet just to write a duet. Mm-hmm. And there was so much as I was falling in love with these people. And I have to backtrack just a bit because not only does this take place in Iowa, where I went to high school, I met my husband in college, we were married, we started our families there. I mean, we lived there. I lived there for 20 years. And so it's really kind of mostly where I grew up. So it's home. It's my home. But I volunteered at a women's prison, the Mitchellville Correction, the Iowa Correction of Women's, whatever it's officially called. I know I put it in the book correctly. But I volunteered there with my church for 7 years. And we went once a month and did services. And we met just beautiful women from all over. I did not, and I keep meaning to put an author's note in this book and explain that because I don't want people, I did not ever use a personal story that I heard. And I heard plenty, which would have been really great book fodder.
Right.
Like, we'll just be honest about that. I did not use ever a personal story that I heard. That's their stories. That's their lives. I would not ever dishonor those women. There were women there who we met, we said goodbye to, who we saw 6 weeks later, back, breaking parole. And they were really women that I genuinely came to absolutely love. And they came from circumstances that I could never imagine. And they were there 20 minutes from where I lived. And it was heartbreaking, and it was absolutely life-changing. And it made me such a better, nicer, kinder, more understanding person in my life than I probably ever could have been without meeting these women. And so, when I started, this is one of those stories that just came to me in a rush, and I could count on my hand 3 books maybe I've published where that has happened out of 40 now. I was sitting on the couch, and I honestly, I got goosebumps. I started crying. I was watching football. We were watching football with my husband. I was went from screaming at the TV to checking my fantasy football league scores to bawling my eyes out goosebumps and feeling like I was going to have a heart attack. And my husband looked at me. He's like, "Are you okay?" I was like, I gotta go get like a notebook and I've got to like deal with this. And he was like, "Okay." And I did, and I didn't, I totally intended to continue writing hockey. I love the Ice Kings. I will revisit the Ice Kings. I will revisit hockey someday soon when I can get back to it. Because I really loved doing that. But this was one that it took me for just a complete loop. And I didn't feel like the total length of this story is like 190,000 words, 180. Like they're both full size. These are not short books. I did not. And I debated. I was like, I mean, I could cut this part and I could give them their happily ever after and I could do this to make it one big book. And I just felt like Lily deserves her full story. After all she's been through, she deserves everything that comes after it. And I felt like I would be doing a disservice to all the trauma she's been through if I didn't give her what she really needed. And to do that, it had to be 2 books.
Well, it is a beautiful
That was
story.
a really long answer.
No, but it's I
fine.
love it. I mean, and honestly, Susie's like, I'm buying right now. Like Susie is buying the book right
Susie,
now.
I love you.
It's beautiful.
Oh, I do have to say really quick. I do have to give this little plug. They go to a restaurant in book 1, which is called, in the book, I believe I just call it Crumb, but it's Crumb Cupcake. And that's owned and run by one of my best friends from high school.
Okay.
Her name is Christy. So I just have to I plugged that in because I adore her and her cupcakes. And I was around when she was first starting. So
I love a good cupcake. And actually, to be honest, while I was reading this book and the different times the cupcakes come into the story, I said to my girl child, I said, "Want to make cupcakes?" And she's like, no, why? I'm like, this book, it's making me want cupcakes. She's like,
you should come visit me and my daughter will make you cupcakes. Because my daughter is at 12. She's insanely.
Well, see, we can come visit and my girl child can make your TikToks and your girl child can make me cupcakes.
Perfect. And we've got a Dunkin' Donuts and a Starbucks right down the street for her.
Fantastic. She will be in heaven.
That sounds like a trip needed.
We might have to do that. I do like some North Carolina. So my mother-in-law lives in North Carolina. But
you can come visit without letting her know too.
No, I would see her. She's fine. She's delightful. But I do like North Carolina. There's lots of fun stuff happening down there.
We'll add it to our road trip list.
Right. Who's planning the road trip again? Because one of our big, huge supporters of the podcast is from Minnesota. And she keeps going, she's like, "When are you coming to visit?" I'm like,
"I'll be there this summer."
Okay. Heather, if you're watching, Stacey's going to be in.
I have to go home and see my parents. So I'll be there this summer.
She's Minnesota Hockey Mom on Instagram. And she's all about our Minnesota Hockey Mom reads. She's all about the spicy books. Look at Stacey. She's like, we're going to become best friends.
I will make her.
Minnesota. She loves the hockey romance too.
Hockey.
Oh, Lindsay's like, I'm sold on this duet.
Mm-hmm. It was a lot. I read it as one big book because
it's a lot.
I'm not
that name later. I don't know.
I'm not a fan of duets, so I like to wait until they're both there. So I powered through both.
I get the hesitation
in one sitting, which it's just a personal thing because I
get it.
I can't handle delayed gratification. I need to know like now. And it took a lot out of me, to be honest, but I will say the first book is heavy. It is heavy. It is hard, not hard to read, but it is like hard to get through because it is so emotionally like draining. And then the second one, it's still emotional, but it's not as like,
it's
not
better.
as heavy.
It's better. And I did try. I mean, I did really try to throw in some lighthearted moments there to like break up that heavy. I really felt like people needed that by that point. I still cannot read the prologue to book 2 without crying. And I can't tell you how many times I've read the prologue And usually I'm able to like emotionally distance myself after like 3 times reading it.
Mhm.
I don't know if I'll ever be able to read the prologue without, like, it's a lot, and it's it is, but it gets better. It gets better. I promise. Like I make it all worth it, and I make it better. I swear.
You
just
you do make it
do,
just
better.
need your
yes.
comfort item and your emotional support animal and your blanket.
You do make it better. It is worth the read. Highly recommend. Push
Thank
through
you.
to book 2, guys. And Lindsay and Susie are both like, they're like, I like it when we can get both books at the same time. So you don't have long to wait. If you buy it tonight,
Tuesday.
book 2 comes out on Tuesday. So
Yep.
you can read book 1 over the weekend and get book 2 on Tuesday.
That's
So you
right.
won't have to wait
Yep.
too
That's right.
terribly long. Rachel's like, I'm usually the same with duets, but I'm willing to do it if I love the author's other books. So Rachel doesn't like to wait either, which
Yeah.
does not shock me.
I always buy them right away because I don't have a great sense of self-control. And so then I buy them and I have to read them, but then I do have to always go back and reread before I start book 2. Like I can't go into book 2, especially when it's been a few months. I can't go into book 2
You need
without
like fresh
I totally
read.
yeah, and then I reread the whole thing. Well, my
My
husband's
problem
like,
comes
"Are you
in,
going to do
I
anything
pick up,
this weekend?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not going to do anything
no,
this weekend."
I'm unavailable. My biggest problem is I'll pick up books or a book will be sent to me. Shayla Black is the worst at this. I sends a book to me and I'll start reading it and then it ends on a cliffhanger and I should know better. Tons of her books end on cliffhangers. And I'm like, and then I get really angry and I'll message her.
You just
I'll be
weren't
like,
emotionally prepared.
why did you send me a cliffhanger? You know how I feel about these. She's like,
She
I
loves them.
always send you cliffhangers. Lauren Rowe, same thing. I get so angry at her when she sends me books that are cliffhangers. She had a series last year, her Reed Rivers series, and I constantly messaged her on Twitter. I added her at Twitter like every day. Is book 2 ready? When am I getting book 3? And she's like,
no, I have gotten those messages frequently from people this time around, and I was like, I'll send you it was from people reading arcs, and I was like, I'll send you the arc as soon as it's done. Like it's still being edited. Just give me a minute.
I don't have it. Like I can't give it to you.
I'm writing the next book and I'm writing the next duet and I'm writing, like I'm busy. Just give me a minute. And I was like, but I promise you. And so
but your next book is also a duet, is it not?
It is.
I thought so, because I thought at the end, like, because
Yep.
Sean,
Yes.
the cousin, is next.
Yes, and I get to finish that one. I finished the first book. I'll be finishing the first book tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm at the point where I both equally hate it and equally love it because nothing has gone as like what I thought it would. And so I'll get to the fully love it stage, I'm sure, after a round of rewrites. But yes, the next couple, and so this gets tricky because Sean is from my small town series, Love in the Heartland, which is a series of standalones
Okay.
that take place in Kansas. So Sean has been mentioned before, and I've always wanted to write Sean's story. I've just never found the girl for Sean because he's a cop in a small town. And in the book where you really get to know him, it's called Before We Fell. And the girl he goes on a date with falls in love with somebody else. But he plays kind of a significant role as well in it. And so his love interest in this duet is somebody from the hockey series. Her name is Adrienne Marquez, who you meet in Fighting Dirty.
yeah.
They're at a wedding reception. It's Jillian and Klaus's story. Jillian talks to her friend Adrienne, and she's clearly with a giant dick of a guy. Like he is just an ass. And they allude to that. And so Sean's story starts off with the fact that he's been given this job opportunity. And in the Love in the Heartland series, you see them. The Love in the Heartland series has a rock star a former professional baseball player who moves back to this small town and creates this like country club golf course, and they do these celebrity golf outings. So they bring in a bunch of people, and because of that, Jackson helps do security. So he meets Sean, and you learn all this in the second book. I'm not spoiling anything. Jackson is mentioned frequently in my football series. He's a security guard. He's brought in scoring off the ice to help find somebody. Readers have been dying for Jackson's story. And Sean and Jackson are the two guys that I've really always wanted to write books about. And I've never felt like I was at. I couldn't throw them in on the side, or I don't know, but I've always loved them because they're great, great men. And so Sean's story's next. He's now in Raleigh working with Jackson. Adrienne is fleeing her wedding on her wedding day from this jerk, and she's kind of in trouble.
Runaway bride.
She's a runaway bride. And she's in trouble, and she knows it. She doesn't know why she's in trouble. She just knows that there's something really bad happening. And so
Rachel's dying. Rachel is dying in the chat, just so we're all clear. So she's like, oh my gosh, I cannot wait.
So she runs to Raleigh because Jillian lives in Charlotte, but she's in Raleigh because she has, if you've read Fighting Dirty, she works for a marketing company, and she travels and she covers all of these professional agents. So she's in Raleigh for a football fundraiser with her football clients, which happen to be the Rough Riders.
Which is your football series.
Right. So I'm essentially, this has been really, really tricky for a woman who doesn't plot.
There's a lot of combining there.
I have been combining my Kansas series, my Heartland series, my football series, and my hockey series. And I've been combining 3 series into one whole new duet. And so there's old favorite characters that everybody has been like, show me more of what's going on with them. And you get it.
Awesome.
This one, they get it. And it's just as intense. It's not as heavy. There's some heavy moments, but it's more intense, it's more suspense, it's more steamy, and it's more sexy. And then we'll jump to Jackson, who I can't wait. I can't wait for Jackson.
Oh my gosh.
And then
Lindsay's like, I love it when an author does this. It's the ultimate fan service. Susie wants to know, does she need to read the other books first? Does she need to read the hockey series to read Sean's story?
Nope. Absolutely not. Nope.
Lindsay says, it makes me so happy to see all the favorites get another HEA. So
I know. I'm so excited. Like I'm kind of a person who, and I know lots of authors are really good at like writing extra like little novellas or Christmas scenes or family scenes for all those, like those favorite characters, and, sending them out in newsletters or whatever. And I'm really more of a person who, once I say goodbye to them, I say goodbye to them, and to go back to them is really difficult, even to just give people something fun. Even like, I don't want to do that just because people want it when I can't feel it.
Right.
And so this has taken a lot of time, because I've gone back and I've reread the entire hockey series. I've gone back and I've read the entire football series. I've had to, because not really great at
just to make sure you're getting everything right.
And the timelines and how many kids they might have and all of this. And so I had to go back and reread 12 of my own books to be able to put this together, which has been crazy. And then I'm like, oh my God, I miss everybody. I want everybody else to like know how much, like, then I miss them all, and I'm crying, and I'm like, they all need like their own like second book. But I'm just not typically that person that can do that. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited.
Sounds like a lot of good stuff is coming in.
But
see, I know it's a duet, so I'm okay with that. Like I'm going into it.
They will all release really close together. I'm not going
to that I'm okay with.
They will be all like this one, the Love and Lies Duet. They're 3 weeks apart. The next one will also be 3 weeks apart. The next one will also be 3 weeks. Like they're going to be close together. But I know the story so well now that I just know that none of them can be done easily.
Mhm.
Which
There's
is fair. Which
lot
is
of
fair because I'd rather have you give service to the characters, to the story, to let them have their time on the page than cut short. Because like
Right.
in
I
this
don't want to rush
series,
it.
right.
Right. I don't want to rush their stories, and they're twisty. A lot of them are going to be really, really twisty because what I don't know, like if people who are picking up all the ugly lies, obviously, and they're just meeting, they haven't even met Sean yet. Sean doesn't come out until Tuesday. Like you don't even know.
That's
like
true.
he's in the second book, and so you don't really understand the connection quite yet. But Jackson is this. He's I don't know, like he's former military, he's a PI, he's a bodyguard, he's a protector for people who
Well,
run football series or scoring off the ice. They've seen him.
he's the
And
good guy in scoring off the ice. He's the
right,
guy that
right.
helps,
And he's the
you
good
know.
guy in the football books, and he's one of the girls. I forget the nickname, but it's Rambo. It's something Rambo. I forget. I'll have to go back and look that up. In Filthy Player, the second football book, he shows up and he makes a huge appearance, and he's a big deal. His sister ends up marrying a football player in another book, and that's a big deal. So he makes quite a bit of appearances, and he really made an impact with those readers. And so I feel like this is my gift to them, and it is going to be a gift that they've been waiting for probably 4 years. And so it will be a good gift. And I won't, like I've been waiting until I've had the right girl, the right scenario to give that to them who want it.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for him because I did like him in scoring off the ice. He does. He
makes an impact. It might be small. I mean, he might have a small scene, but he makes an impact. And
and you needed him in that story. You needed that good guy mentality that he brings in, especially in the moment that he comes in. So, and I won't ruin it because you guys, it's a secret baby. And if you haven't read it, totally recommend you read it.
You do. You need that in your life.
You do. And I think everybody that's watching right now is part of our Patreon. But if you're not, you should join Leah and I on patreon.com/bookcaseandcoffee. We do such fun events as our check-ins for our reading challenges. We have a summer reading virtual book club we're adding this summer. And then there's always the best. Oh my God, what is wrong with me? The best day of the month, Drunk Book Club. And we have that coming up on May 15th. So
yes.
Stacey's like, come join us. This month we're reading Finding His Mark by Brittany Shaheen. Did I say it right? Shaheen. It's a romantic right. I'm just gonna make up names. So the way our Drunk Book Club works is we our members help us pick a theme. We give them 3 or 4 themes for the month. They vote on the theme they want. Then they nominate the books that they want us to read that fall into that theme. And then they vote on the book that we're going to read. And we've been lucky that I think out of the 9 or 10 that we've done so far, we've only had 1 month that the author has not joined us. So we've we read Pucked by Helena Hunting, and she came and did maple sugar shots with everybody. And we've had
Lucy Scoron and Melanie
Jiffy
Harlow.
Kate has come join.
Jiffy Kate. They were a lot of fun.
That's fun.
So it's a fun night of, we just really love romance and want to do everything we can to build up the genre. And then come back and join us. If you're watching, come back and join us next Monday evening. We'll be here with Kelly Jameson to talk about her latest hockey romance. Because we love the hockey.
That's fantastic.
It's like, and our coming episode this coming weekend is dropping. We did an episode on fan fiction, and we had Helena Hunting and Deborah Anastasia interview and talk to them about,
that's fantastic.
right? To talk about getting their start from fan fiction, because they both used to write in the Twilight world.
I didn't know that. I never knew that.
Yeah. Pucked is actually a Hockey Twilight.
No.
For people that
I'm
don't
going to
know
have to go back and watch that. I'm such a huge Puck fan.
Lindsay said she read your MMA romance, and she's going to find that after this. Or
Just
no,
Won't
she is
Regret.
reading. She's reading
Just
it
Won't
right now.
Regret. That's a really heavy, emotional one, too. I mean, not heavy, but that's emotional. She gives the girl up for adoption.
Okay.
And then she runs into the guy, the baby daddy, at the UFC event, and she's got front row tickets, and he's the main headliner. And he kicks the guy's ass and jumps over the cage and gets to her. And
I may have to read that one now.
It's
Lindsay's
really
like,
good.
oh, Lindsay.
I mean, it's a good
I
one.
need it.
It's
She
a good
says
one.
she needs it.
It's a good one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're here about an hour, so we didn't need our game, even though we'll have to come back because I have Book Tribe Family Feud for the next time you want to come on and join us, and we'll do it.
Anytime.
So I'm going to pick a winner of our swag bag here with the cup and the zipper pouch full of swag. So just give me a hey and let me know that you're here. Lindsay's like, just kidding. I'm reading it all tonight. No sleeping for her. Lindsay, what's a day job, right? Tanya is still here, and we know Lindsay is still here. Stacey, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you coming on and giving us your time.
I've had so much fun.
We're kind of a good time.
You are.
I mean, we think we're a good time. We don't know what anybody else thinks.
I think that you ladies would be great to hang out with at a bar at a book signing.
Oh, yeah. You will find us as soon as, I really need people to get to, 60% immunity. 60% of the population needs to get their freaking vaccine. And then I can go. Lindsay's like, ugh, they own me. She apparently went and bought all your MMA books.
That wasn't our fault, though.
This was not our fault. Although
Lindsay can
somehow
own that.
You know what? Go, Lindsay.
Usually it's Becky's fault, and then I'm just kind of wrapped into it.
Tanya says I'm a good time over waffles and mimosas. I am. Tanya's my my childhood best friend, and she and I often have
waffles and mimosas.
Christmas Eve morning, she and I like to get together and have waffles and mimosas before we kick off all our holiday fun.
I cannot do that. I don't really have a great on button or an off button once I start drinking. And
Same.
So mimosas at 10 a.m. or 9 a.m., that just...
a nap by 2, and then I'm ready for cocktails
but there'd
at 7.
be a lot of day drinking.
Well, yeah, I didn't say I don't do it. I'm just saying it's not the greatest thing for me.
You're not the best at it.
I'm not the best at
it. Stacey, pick a number between 1 and 4 for us.
3.
3. Okay. Our winner this evening is Miss Susie. Miss Susie, I am going to send you this cup and this bag full of book swag. So yeah, that's what we got. Susie, I have your address, so don't worry, you don't have to email me. Saturday mornings. Yeah, you know what? I don't have an off button. Tanya's selling all of my secrets here. I don't have an off button. I'm a big day drinker. I love to day drink. My husband and I, pre-COVID, we would go and sit at our local brewery at 1 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon and drink all afternoon.
Sometimes you just need a day like that.
I'm a big fan of that. So anyway,
once it's a summer thing for me. I do it more in the summer because I can sit outside.
Living in North Carolina is that it's now always summer.
Oh, that's true.
It's always summer. Even when it's January and 50, it's still Minnesota summer. And
that's true.
It's hard to turn that off and adjust.
I can see that. Thank you everyone again for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
We'll see you all next Monday. Happy reading.
Happy reading, everybody.